So basically, it doesn't matter how many problems, how many negative situations, how many issues that I have to deal with or solve in my life. It doesn't matter if they are small problems or big problems. There is one thing that is always true, that you can only ever change time, place, or people. Yeah. Well, we will, we yeah, you're right. You're right. We will get to the point of the fact that you can't really change other people. So, in fact, we'll start with that. You can't really change other people. You can only tell people how you feel. And they will probably not change what they do because because why would they? Why should they? They they have their life, their lifestyle, their habits, their characteristics, their way. And uh, people don't do things that they think are wrong. They do what they think is right. Yeah, absolutely. It's what is right for them, which might be wrong for somebody else. Now, I thought that it's interesting because I thought that maybe uh, well, there are there are two things that I have learned because it's all about learning things. There are two things that I have learned. Now, the first thing that I have learned is that I have lived with children for 7 years. And children are very noisy, very loud, very crazy, especially at night. There's quite a bit of crying if you have babies and very young children. So I am not sensitive. I am not sensitive to those things. And the point is that I was thinking, is it a problem? Am I sensitive to sound and noise? But I've lived with children for 7 years, so I'm not. Yeah, of course it's a different type of noise, but I don't think that it really matters. It's like saying a different type of car. Yeah, okay, but it's still, it doesn't really make that much difference in this situation. So that's my first realization, is that it's I can sleep through the night with my children screaming and crying, and my partner woke me up and said, did you hear that last night? No, I was sleeping, right? It could be about something. It could be about personal activity and non-personal activity, other people's activity. It could be that I am I am used to it. It is normal for me. It could be that you normalize your own activity, and what other people do is different in 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 some way, right? So this is my first element of learning. The second thing is that I have lived in 18 different places in my life. 18. And almost everywhere, and let's just say everywhere. Everywhere that I have ever lived, there has been a problem. Everywhere there has been a problem. Do I bring these things energetically to me? That is in the back of my mind. That is in the back of my mind that maybe, yeah, the point I want to make is that is that the situation is not normal. Yeah, absolutely. It's not normal. It's not it's not usual for people. It's not good, and if it happens once or twice, you know, 50-50. Yeah. Yeah, I know. So I understand that if this problem has happened everywhere, that everywhere or every time, both. Um, the only constant is me. Everything else changed. The people changed. The place changed. The environment changed. Everything else changed. The only thing that is the same is me. And looking around, a lot of other people seem to be happy, satisfied, okay with their environment and their conditions. So where's the problem? What is the problem, and how do I solve the problem? According to this information, which might or might not be correct, according to this information, where is the problem? The problem is here. What is the problem? The problem is me. How do I deal with the problem? I have no idea. There's the core or the center of problems. Let's take a step back. The core or the center of problems is within ourselves. So I am let's see, some things about me, let's make it personal, some things about me are not normal. One of the things that is not normal about me is that I have very high standards for everything. But here is what I tell myself. How do you make things better if you don't have higher standards? Because I have a problem understanding that. Because how does that work? So, if one of the reasons for living, I mean, definitely one of the reasons is to find happiness, or to be happy. One of the things that you said was to develop, to grow, to become better. Isn't that higher standards? No, okay, yeah, but to be better is to move to the next level. But that's the higher standard. Okay. Well, here is one of the problems. As I analyze the situation and I think about the situation, I find some problems, some contradictions. Now, I agree with everything that you said. Focus on where you are and what you are doing rather than reaching the incredible infinite possibilities of higher standards, which might take you forever and you might never be satisfied. So I agree with you about all of that. But let's get practical, right? Let's get practical about this. How does this help the fact that my neighbor is making noises in their flat and I can't sleep because of that. You see, everything you say is correct, but that is not going to help me. I still have a problem with my vision, because in my vision, to be better and to have higher standards are very similar. I'm not saying exactly the same thing, but they're very similar, because if I want to be better, the very first thing I must have is a vision. I must see in my mind what I want to be. I must have a picture of how to be better, what better is. And I think that better is another level. It's a higher standard. And so to be better, to grow means to have a higher standard. What does a higher standard mean? It means a quality of life that a higher standard means a quality of life that is balanced. That means that I can live and do a lot of the things that I need to do without being stopped from doing them. Now, one of the fundamental things is to be able to sleep. Mm-hmm. And so I know that when you change something, and I have a lot of experience with this, when you change something, it does not mean that it will get better. When you change something, there is a possibility that it will get worse when you change something, because some things you can control and some things you can't control. And as you said, some problems, as you explained, some problems you must hold the problem because there's no other path. But if you don't try to make the change, the alternative is that you know that nothing will change. You know that nothing will get better. You know that there are one or two small situations where you do nothing and the problem goes away. It does happen. I can give you an example. I have some friends who run a business, and in their business they get a lot of emails about problems, and they have to solve all the problems, and they don't have enough time to solve all the problems. And so they have like 3 levels. They have like top priority, middle priority, and that's if we have time, right? And sometimes they get one email from a person saying, I have this problem, I need this, blah, 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 blah. And they don't have time to do anything about it. And then 2 or 3 days later, they get another email from the same person saying, I have this problem, blah, 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 blah. And then a week later, they get the same email from the person saying, I have this problem, blah, 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 blah. And then they don't get any more emails. Now that's a practical example from business. Now for them, this problem, they basically do nothing, and the problem goes away. So I'm not saying they solve the problem, but they don't have to deal with the problem. So there are examples where you do nothing, and it yeah, exactly. It's like 5% maximum, I would say, in situations. But there are examples of that. So yeah, it's the old story of the idea that it's difficult to communicate, the idea that it's difficult to express problems connected with the old story of it's just business, it's nothing personal. For example, say somebody is not good at their job, and you have to fire them from their job. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Someone is okay. You have an employee; they are not very good. You have to say to your employee, "Bye bye." This is not good, and you have to understand that it's just business. It's not personal, right? You have to, but the employee will always take it personally. But the intellectual person will always understand that it's not personal. It's just business. Look, I don't have a problem with who you are. It's just that, yeah, it's I don't have a problem with who you are. It's just that this job and you don't fit together the way that they should. Now there is out there there's a job which is perfect for you. There are situations which is perfect for you, and out there's probably somebody else who can do this job differently from you. And so it's not personal, the fact that we're firing you. It's a question of the right person to do the right task. The same way that yes, one of the reasons that there are communication problems and that it's not possible to explain these things, I think, is because people make a lot of decisions before they listen to the information. It's about the fact that it's difficult to listen, and it's about the fact that we all have prejudice. We all prejudge things. We all have an idea about something before we know all the information about something. And in my experience with my activities in my life, there are some things that I have changed that have made fantastic differences to my life and made it much better. And there are some things that I have changed which have made things more complicated for myself. And so, yeah, you can predict maybe half of what will happen quite accurately, but not everything. So there's a variable factor in everything that we do, and so is it better to live with the situation where we're not happy, or is it better to try to improve something? And I feel a personal obligation to myself in my life. Where I am not happy, I must change something. I must change something, because the only way to, the only way to know is to go down that road. And if I don't change anything, I can pretty much be sure that tomorrow will be the same as yesterday. And I personally, I don't want tomorrow to be the same as yesterday. I want to create opportunities for myself that don't exist. And to do that, it's absolutely necessary to change things. And I also understand myself that people who want to change things are usually never satisfied. It doesn't matter what I do, it doesn't matter what I have, it doesn't matter where I go, there will be something there that makes me not satisfied, not happy. And this is a giant problem, because it's one thing when you talk about objects, it's another thing when you talk about people. Now you can, if you're not happy with a cup, you can buy a new cup, right? If you're not happy with your car, eventually you can sell it and you can get a different car. But you can't really do that with human relationships. You can't buy and sell human relationships. You can't buy and sell people, because we know from history you can't buy and sell people, because that was called slavery, and people were trapped and nothing progressed, and until Western society and Christianity eventually freed people from the the uh, the bonds and entanglements of slavery, society didn't progress. And so um, there's this need to balance all of these ideas together.